Hello, this is Everett Pierce, and today is the 5th of November, 2016, and this is the 2016 presidential corruption. This is part 8 of this corruption. Now, we are going to talk about the media and the campaign aspect of things. Now, since I am an expert. Actually, I'm more than an expert when it comes to communications. And I know it well. And I'm going to point out a few things that sheds light on truly reading between the lines. We've heard of that quote before, reading between the lines. And in terms of the media, in terms of the radio, and also be aware of this, that comes from the people that you know, your friends, your family, you're sitting there, you're not trying to eavesdrop, but you hear the words of other people. Because people are done deliberately to be out in the public to speak louder so other people can hear them. That's another form of communication. So in regards to Donald Trump, now, if you watch the ads and how they present certain clips. So if you did enough video of me and you chopped out certain terms and stuff that I said and you put it together, you can actually make me look like someone even horrible than Charles Manson. Okay, so what does it say? Donald Trump is having discrepancies with Rosie O'Donnell. And she's slandering him and he's slandering her. Okay, that's in reference between Donald Trump and Rosie O'Donnell. So he comes along and says, her fat, ugly face. Okay, so they take that clip and say, him saying her fat, ugly face. And so now they take that clip and they put it in such a way that you are drawing the conclusion that he's making reference to all women. Okay, now what you need to be looking at is, why are they using the tactic of that for you to think he's making reference to all women versus just Rosie O'Donnell? I'm just using that example. And say, for example, there's also part of Mr. Trump. Now, I'm going to use some harsh language. So if you're watching this with your children and you don't want them to hear certain things, I'm a man of communication. So I use a variety of different words and terms, and just so we can make sense of it, the learning aspect of it. So let's just say Trump is making reference to a comment that ISIS made towards the United States. Well, we are going to kill Americans. And then Trump comes by and says, well, you can tell ISIS, go fuck themselves. Okay, so they take this little clip of him saying, go fuck yourself. Okay, and they present, is this the guy you want to elect? And then they put children in front of it. And that also pisses me off that they're using our future generations, because it's going to strike a nerve in our heart and of our essence. And then this child, as if he's watching him say, go fuck yourself. So that is known as partial truth. Meaning that, as if Donald, every person he runs across, he's saying, go fuck yourself. He doesn't have the temperament. He is biased against everyone. So that's what you need to be aware of. I'm not trying to change the way you think. But if you're going to do this correctly, and if you haven't voted yet, and you're on the fence, I can understand your pain. I can understand your frustration. You're just so discombobulated. Well, that's another element of energy, discombobulation. They want you to be discombobulated and then just guess. Because they increase their chances of winning. Having control. First of all Americans should be voting. It's of, by, and for the people. That doesn't say some. Nowhere in there does it say some of the people are to vote. Nowhere in this electoral college. It was intended to the beginning of the development of the United States. Not now. The electoral college was for the purpose of training wheels to a bicycle. It is vote for vote. That's why a lot of people get disgusted out there and they don't vote because well, my vote don't count. They want you to think that. And that's why it's important for you to be informed and to be able to read between the lines. So, as all these derogatory statements from Trump, I am a communication man. If there's anything, do you want someone that says please and thank you and it's all every hunky-dory? It's because, number one, life is not like that. Okay? And then everyone is so quickly to be offended and insulted. And that's primarily because people want to be insulted and offended so they can maintain their victim role. Because there's a lot of benefits to it. So when you see all these clips, she's ugly and all this. Okay, now there's a difference. Okay, if I make the statement of she's eating like a fat ugly pig. Okay, there's different tones. We'll say this one man, he's doing it as to bring down her morale, of the sense of self. And if she thinks less than herself, he has better control over her. Okay. Now, if you're saying it's just a matter of fact, she's eating like a fat pig. Okay. That's not in a sense of derogatory. Okay. It just say, if you think of, eating like a pig, means she's sitting at the table. It tells you she's really hungry. She's not sticking to what society thinks how she should eat. She just eating. It's not a matter of statement of saying, that's how I view women. Is using certain words to describe certain things. Okay? You might have someone where say, well, boy, aren't you eating like a pig? Okay, that might be from your BFF. Does that mean your BFF is trying to be derogatory? No, is what you're saying is, as a friend, is like, boy, you must have been really hungry. So you have to be cautious of how they use certain words. And so another thing you need to be focused on, at the element of why are they giving you partial truths to prove their statement? Because you could take any of my videos and put it together and say, boy, he sounds like he's worse than Charles Manson. If you don't, that's why we have the puzzle. The symbolism of the puzzle. You have to put all the pieces together. Okay? But they want people to draw the wrong conclusion of things. The usage of words. And as in our English language, Bruno, a friend of mine named Bruno, he knew 7, 8 different languages. He was in international sales. He knew all the different Mandarins and dialects and all that. And one of the things he said to me, he says, the most complex and hardest language I've ever had to learn, it was English. He said, because you use this word in this way, and this way, and this way, and it just has so many contexts to it. And an intent. And this is a man is in international sales. He can switch up from talking to German and Russian, just very fluently. He spent his whole life understanding languages. And that was his comment. And I agree with him in that respect. Because something as simple as option. You would think that's harmless, right? Option, the word option. Okay, but now apply it in the wrong direction and say your freedom is an option. Your safety is an option. Okay, now the word option now becomes nasty. What do you mean my freedom is an option? What do you mean my safety is an option? Isn't liberties mandatory? Haven't we learned enough from our past to know that liberties, freedoms, and opportunity, and most importantly, fairness, is like the four elements of the body: air, water, food, and sex? We know that you can't take them out, and they have to be preserved. Otherwise, we die. So, why would they have, after assassination of Abraham Lincoln, after they assassinated me, they put the 15th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was supposed to be essentially the right to vote. But we took it one step further, is to make it mandatory to vote, mandatory to pay taxes, mandatory to abide by the law. These are things inseparable. But now they come along and say, wait a minute, if we make an option, then people become lazy and complacent. And then if we keep them busy, then they're not engaged in the politics or in the election of who's running the country anyways. And then, so when you got 300 million Americans out there, 300 million or 350, and you're only collecting 50 million votes, it's not only is it a failure, it's an incomplete voting election. Because it doesn't consist of, by, and for the people. So these are the things you need to be aware of. So if you're up on the fence and you really, I understand your frustration of the discombobulation out there. And they use that to their advantage. And the words that Donald Trump says is, they'll take this one situation, and he's referring to this one Mexican that came over and murdered a 9-year-old child. And then they turn it around or clip it as if Donald Trump is referring to all Mexicans, all Latinos, all blacks. And he says, see, I told you he was racist. I told you. And see, you didn't tell me anything. The thing is, not everyone is at his rallies. A lot of people, if you're out there, you are having to work 2 and 3 jobs, and you don't have time to read between the lines or get involved in the election of our government and the structure of it. And then now you're picking up bits and pieces, and you're more likely to pick up the discombobulated stuff, and not to mention your friends and everyone else who also are uninformed or following in the direction of basic fraud, corruption. So you have to be aware of that. You want to be informed. I know you want to be informed. Why is it that people, when they turn away and say, well, I'm not going to vote for Hillary now until I find out if she gets indicted? Why would she do that? Why would she turn around and say, I'm going to hold off until... Because if she gets indicted, she also knows that, hey, under the RICO Act, they would include me in that indictment, because now, after I know she has violated the law, and RICO is about conspiracy, racketeering, an organized group, you'd be also indicted. Your name would be on that indictment. But more than that is she's saying, wait a minute, I'm not, if she truly broke the law and is what they say is, I'm not going to vote for someone in. That's why a lot of people are waiting to the very last end. And those are smart individuals. That means that you're not confident. Certainty. When you vote, you should be voting with certainty. I know. And then they have a list of things. Not fraudulent things. Solid. Things that would fall in the category of, we hold these truths to be self-evident. You read between the lines. Here are the true facts. Not how the media presents it to you or their campaign presents it to you. Donald Trump could say every time he runs into me, Everett, go fuck yourself. But I may notice every time in a bad situation, when the dust settles, he's always there on my backside and make sure I'm not falling down. Now, even though I've heard him, Everett, go fuck yourself. When the dust settles, I know he has my back. Okay, well, if you look at the words, go fuck yourself, it's basically another term for Masturbation. I mean, stop and think about it. You're telling me masturbation is supposed to be considered bad? But we use that term, like I said, in terms of how people apply things, as if go fuck yourself is supposed to be a bad thing. So that's why I said earlier that using particular harsh words, some people see what I just said is considered harsh. You can use even innocent words in a harsh way, and it can have the same impact and destruction as the established bad words. So that's why you really have to be informed, because the politics, the people that are in our government that shouldn't be there, they're there because, if nothing else, they have became proficient enough, the usage of words, to convince you to vote them in, or convince you not to vote. So all the elections for the president have all been an election of votes that doesn't include all the people, of, by, and for the people. So they're considered incomplete. It's considered a failure. So if you turn into your exam to your teacher and only half of it's completed, your teacher's going to say incomplete F. So you're going to tell me Obama not taking away anyone's accomplishments. You're going to say, well, I'm proud to be a president. And say, wait a minute, you want to be proud as a president that only represented a small percentage of people? What about the other 300 million that didn't vote? That they're working 2 and 3 jobs, who are in the mindset of that their vote don't count. Did those people ever get heard? How can you be proud as a president that you were elected? If I was elected president and there's 300 eligible voters and I got 290 million votes, then I can stand up in front of that television and say, I'm proud to be your president. And I'm going to do the best job that God has given me the tools and skill sets to lead us all into a future of evolution, of greatness. So with that, we'll end it right there. So do keep that in mind. If you're on the fence, you haven't voted, I'm not here to change the way you're going to. That's part of liberties, and that's what makes us unique. But if in anything, know why you're voting. Otherwise, if you tell someone, I'm voting for Hillary, well, why? I don't know. It makes you look like a pathetic fool. Same way with Trump. Why are you voting for Trump? I don't know. It also makes you look like a pathetic fool. Read between the lines and know with certainty why you're voting for this particular person. I am voting for Trump, and I can give you a list of positive things versus the little list over here. That's my conclusion. But it's not about my conclusion. It's about your conclusion. What have you achieved in certainty that makes you sleep at night and say, yeah, I voted for such and such? So be aware of how people use their words and what they're trying to solicit. So what's the crime? The person saying, go fuck yourself, or the person that's trying to convince everyone, 350 million people, and then even more, the whole world, that every time Donald Trump walks around, he's saying to everyone, go fuck yourself. Well, firstly, I don't see that statement as something bad. It's like, I'm going to look at him and say, wait a minute, do I have that much sexual tension that I need to relieve myself and kind of relax a little bit? So you understand what I'm saying now in terms of words and statements and phrases? I mean, so people are so animate about the I call word slinging. And they have no idea of, you take one word and ask someone, explain that word to me in its entirety, in depth. No one can do it. Option. I would say, what's option mean? How can you apply it? What's the right way application? What's the wrong way application? Oh, I didn't know option. I mean, 2 or more new choices. It's just two more choices. Okay, of course I'm being facetious here. And I fluctuate on all levels. And we use symbolism. Symbolism to help, or even parables, which is also a term of that, is, in my view, of all people, not just in the United States, but of all nations. You are considered awesome. Until such time, others convince you to believe other. And then your manifestations kick in, and then you start into what it's called in psychology, self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's why ISIS, they get their young children to think and believe in a certain way. They get their manifestations, and these kids are believing, go kill these people. So that's why we have to be informed. We have to see the function, the functionality of it, the reasoning behind it. So I would highly frown upon, why is this media? Why is this election? Why are they giving me partial truths? Just like Democrats did back in 1865 and before. They go to the plantation and it says, see, I told you, a slave master and the slaves is a good system for both people, for all units. And then they look at it and see the slave master and the slaves they were being treated like kings and queens. What they failed to do is to show you the other 98% of the plantations that were being whooped. They were being tortured. There were so many things that they were discovering how they can do to their slaves. It was just horrifying. And that's why some of these things, they're not permitted to put it on television for public viewing, because they're just so hideously horrifying that you would never get that thought out of your head. So if you thought Roots was bad, that is a walk in the park at Disneyland compared to what really happened. And that's why the Republicans had to come and say, wait a minute, Democrats, what are you thinking with your ass? Donkey? Okay, why do we have animal symbols? Because you think of Noah's Ark, and you get all the animals in one place. They're going to have to learn to adapt and learn how to cohabitate so they don't end up killing each other, reaching a level of extinction. That's why we have these symbolism, the elephant, the donkey. So I'm asking all Americans, get out there and vote. It is a mandatory you vote. It is not an option when it comes to your liberties. It's not an option when it comes to you paying your taxes, abiding by the law. It's never an option for you to vote. And I ask all Americans, put the donkey back in the barn and shut the damn door. I'm asking that. But don't just do it because what I've said. Do your homework. Reach that element of certainty. And then you will get this goosebumps like, wow, that's what unity feels like? And then you'll be like a drug addict. You'll want it more and more and more and more and more. And that's when you'll start seeing things get to a level of what Donald Trump is talking about. If they think this is greatness, it's like, that all depends. The theory of relativity, the relativity of time, space. But in actuality, to the default level of energy, we haven't even came close to reaching what's considered greatness. Only the illusion of what we have perceived, oh, that was great. Well, that's according to your evolution. We know things can be better. So let's keep pushing forward for that greatness and start reading between the lines and eliminate a lot of the nonsense. And let's make it past this evolutional transition. And with that wonder right there, this is Everett Pierce, November 5th, 2016, and it's about 9:25. Be informed, being educated. Make some effort to remove your ignorance. And the more awareness you have, the more energy will open itself up to you and say, wow, I thought life was boring. And now I see that it can never be boring. Energy will always keep opening things up to you and learning new things. It's never boring. Ever. If you're on the boring aspect of energy, it's because you're set with so many limitations and you feel like you're stuck in a box. If I put myself in the bathroom and shut the door and shut the lights off, after a while, it becomes boring. If not insane. So these are the things you have to be aware of. It really do. So with that, we'll end it right there. And thank you for your time.